Lives of men. Lives of men consist of three ways of living, or three lives: the material life, the sentimental, moral, and intellectual life, and the spiritual life. Depending on individual activities and the way society is organized, these distinctive lives are formed and developed. In other words, depending on opinions and appreciations about each life and the continuity of the corresponding activities, the life becomes habitual. Each life gets its own accomplishment and effects, but the highest life that is hardest to achieve is the spiritual one, of which the effects influence successfully on the two other lives and lead man's way of living towards all perfection. The successful achievement in the creation of each life is related to many visible and invisible parts in man's body, and each life gets its own function and capability. The material life is related to the body, the heart, and the mind. The sentimental, moral, and intellectual life is related to A. the heart and the mind, B. the mind and the conscience. The spiritual life is related to A. the pure mind and the character, B. the super mind and the character. The result of each life is obtained by one's desire and preference for the activities connected to that life. Among the activities of the material life, sensation is the basic one. Preference of any sensation leads man to be infatuated or covetous of that sensation. In sentimental, moral, and intellectual life or spiritual life, it is the same. The activities of the sentimental, moral, and intellectual life get their specific and particular pleasures. It is the animation of virtues that creates delight and gaiety to the life. The spiritual life is full of spiritual vivacity, life-giving enthusiasm, and merries. All are filled with saintliness and endowed genius. With the aim to increasing one's strong desire, one constitutes the desire as a subject of study, then a science, and finally an art. For example, a gourmet or a connoisseur feels desirous for delicious tastes. He will improve cookery as a branch of learning. He considers, chooses the quality, adjusts the time, combines flavor and taste. Then the cookery becomes an art of preparing foods. And when one can use his super sense organs and the powers of his heart and his mind in cookery, the subject of study will become the art of cookery. The sentimental, moral, and intellectual life and the spiritual life are alike. The moral, sentimental, and intellectual life uses external facts into inner activities as data, from which one tries to discover its cause and then enjoys the activities that give pleasures and satisfaction to the heart and the mind. The spiritual life puts into practical use the supernatural facts of the heart and the mind and the supernatural facts of the supernatural world in order to obtain Tao's course. Living with the supernatural and supernatural activities is to enjoy the spiritual and emotional ecstasy. The material life is necessary, but the sentimental, moral, and intellectual life is noble and precious. However, the spiritual life is of absolute value and preciousness. In comparison, being necessary is not equal to preciousness, but necessity and preciousness are less important than the absolute value. Much as the heart and the mind are precious, sympathy is to be cherished, and these cannot be equalized by money or words. Man's body is the basis that undergoes all activities of the material life, but the life of the body is limited to a period of time. Only the heart and the mind persist. Nowadays, people waste a lot of time on the material life or the sentimental and intellectual life, but few people devote to the solemn purpose of the spiritual life. Concerning the material life and the sentimental, intellectual life, man learns from each other through mankind's experiences and knowledge by observing, studying from animals, things, and other visible phenomena of the natural world. Therefore, mankind progresses fast but still evolves slowly. The spiritual life ameliorates man quickly. Only this life can develop rapidly the mysterious constituents in man's life, such as the heart, the conscience, the character, the mind, the supermind, and the supermind. The three lives connect to and influence on the three small worlds and the three cosmic worlds. The material life belongs to the natural world and the visible small world. The sentimental, moral, and intellectual life belongs to the natural and supernatural cosmic worlds and the natural and supernatural small worlds. The spiritual life belongs to all three natural, supernatural, and supernatural worlds in the cosmos and in man. Man's life evolves in accordance with the laws of descendants and ascendants transmutations. Depending on the level of evolution, the life originates from a small world, then extends to another small world or other 2 or 3 small worlds. Each world contains its own images, objects, phenomena, and cause. The life of each small world connects to and corresponds with each kind of body in the flesh body. The original causes in the three small worlds related to the body, the heart, and the mind are the natural world, the natural small world, the logical cause. The logical cause engenders morals, customs, and habits. The supernatural small world, the genuine cause, or the supernatural truth. The genuine cause originates philosophies and the systems of excellent thoughts and effective qualities. Philosophies teach and show the fundamental effects and consequences of virtues. The supernatural world, Tao's cause. Tao's cause engenders Tao's characters in the spiritual life and religions. Tao's characters are related to the animation of the cosmos, while those connecting with the small cosmos constitute religions. Each life corresponds with each kind of body, depending on the activities, whether they are of sensations, of feelings, of virtues, or of Tao's characters. In each life, there are endless transmutations related to many factors. Man gets 3 lives connecting with the 3 cosmic worlds, but it is hard to identify them separately. The 3 lives and their relationships. Regarding the material life, its substance is liquid, in which qi, electric, and light animate in latency. Its power is refined power, or outer power. Its psychological and physiological phenomena is sensations. Its related parts are the body, the heart, and the mind. Its space is outside and inside. Its small world is the natural world, and the rank of man is vulgar. Regarding the sentimental, moral, and intellectual life, its substances are qi, in which electric and light animate in latency. Its power is superpower, or mystic power, inner power. Its psychological and physiological phenomenon is feelings, with latent virtues, evilness, wickedness. Its related parts are the heart, the mind, the supermind. Its space is either outside and inside or only inside. Its related small world is the supernatural world, and the rank of man is Superman. Regarding the spiritual life, its related substance is 1. Electric, with light in latency, or 2. Light. Its related power is cosmic energy, which is inner power. Its psychological and physiological phenomenon is genuine virtue, or Tao's characters. Its related parts are mind, supermind, supermind. Its space is completely inside. Its small world is the supernatural world, and the rank of man is holy man, Tao's man. Footnote: Tao's man, who is the one who is practicing Tao's course and Tao's characters. Tao's teacher is the one who lives Tao's course and teaches Tao's course. The material life. The flesh body is the basis on which all activities of the material life must be experienced. These activities of the flesh body influence the heart and the mind, and in their turn, the heart and the mind influence the flesh body. The material life is related to the 4 sacred substances: liquid, qi, electric, light. But liquid, or blood, is the main activity, or the principal condition of being active in the material life. Wherever liquid, blood, exists, there are sensations. If blood exists, so do sensations. The sensations in the flesh body produce bodily feelings, or sensational desires. Newborns have no feelings and thoughts. Growing up, their feelings and thoughts develop, and so do their sensational desires. Sensational desires engender other additional sensations: carnal desires, sensual pleasures, delightful feelings. Carnal desires belong to the material life. Delightful feelings are great pleasures belonging to the sentimental, moral, and intellectual life and the spiritual life. Belonging to the material life, carnal desires are related to the body, which receives external phenomena through the 5 natural sense organs: the senses of touch, taste, smelling, hearing, and seeing. The sense of touch belongs to carnal desires. 1. The natural carnal desires are for reproduction. This is a function of all species that get the substance of liquid in their body. 2. Carnal desires and love of mankind to reproduce in love, having morals and Tao's course. 3. Carnal desires and deceit, fornication, lack of morals. 4. Love and carnal desires and deceit. There is love, but mixed with deceit, no righteousness. Therefore, children born out of this are recklessly daring, always defend themselves, and deny their faults but blame others. If the 4 senses serve the sense of touch, carnal desires, fornication, love with carnal desires, they are all related to the material life. The sense of touch and the sense of taste are the functions that are identical in man and animals. They belong completely to the material life. The sense of smell, the sense of hearing, and the sense of sight, A, belong to the material life when they serve the sense of touch, body. B, belong to the sentimental and intellectual life when they serve the heart and the mind. Sense of hearing, sense of sight belong to the spiritual life when they serve the pure mind. The sense of sight belongs completely to the spiritual life when it, as the sacred sense, serves the supermind. Carnal desires are caused by the 2 senses of touch and taste. when the carnal desires animate, the sentimental and intellectual life and the spiritual life stop or decrease. This may engender immoral acts, being deficient of righteousness, logical cause, and genuine cause. So it suffices to say that carnal desires are the source of sins and faults. In daily activities, if we use the 5 natural senses related to the body, these activities belong to the life of the natural world. The 3 super senses, the activities belong to the supernatural world, and the sacred sense, the activities belong to the supernatural world. If we use the 3 senses of smell, hearing, and sight, the heart and the mind, the activities belong to the sentimental and intellectual life. If we use the heart, the mind, plus the supernatural world and the supernatural world, this belongs to the spiritual life. Although these senses get the same function, they differ in terms of the capability of the sight. The sight can cover images in the 3 small worlds with different capabilities. The natural sight of the natural sense organ, the super sight of the super sense organ, and the super sight of the sacred sense organ. These capabilities of sight animate in different bodies and get the same function of seeing. The material life of man is related to refined power. It belongs to outer power, which may increase or decrease occasionally, in which all kinds of sensations, carnal desires, desires of taste, of flavors, of smells, of sounds, and of colors animate. The refined power is affected by fortunes and misfortune. Fortunes and misfortunes are the 2 aspects of the material life, i.e., the material life can be in good or bad conditions. The 2 aspects depend on the way of living by each individual or depend on collective influence by many people. Regarding individuals, for the fortune is the effective result of the material life. It is constituted by virtues of the heart, or those that are good, right, and sound qualities of the heart and the mind. The inner life feels peace and joy, which have been created by virtues. Thanks to this, externally, the body enjoys fortune's characters. The collective influence in the material life of many people is caused by inner virtues, and it creates a common fortune for an area, wherein no violence, crime, or disaster, or calamity happen. Without violence, there is no cruelty, quarrel, or fighting in the areas. Having no crime, there is no wickedness or evilness, and no murder. Without disasters, the area enjoys the regularity of winds and rains in seasons. Man and animals are in sound physical conditions, thanks to the regular changes of weather. People have good harvests. The misfortune is the result of a material life that is formed by confusion and troubles from wickedness and evilness in the inner life. Regarding individuals, the confusion and disorder in the state of the heart and wickedness are the origin of individual misfortunes, which are related to the 5 basic elements, the 5 viscera, their connected organs, and the 5 principal colors. And misfortunes occur when the individual has stored up the unfortunate conditions and the bad state of being for a certain period of life in the absence of Tao's characters, virtues, and fortune's characters in activities. Misfortunes accumulate gradually until the event takes place. Worries lead to unfortunate damage and hurt caused by soil, stones, brick. Fear leads to disasters caused by liquid, flood, tsunami, death by falling into pits, holes, wells, lakes, ponds, etc. Anger leads to death because of toxic air, poisonous wind, or by falling trees. Sorrow, loss of life caused by metals and toxic substances. Anxiety, the death caused by fire, electric shocks, car accidents, imprisonment. The state of confusion of the heart and the wickedness of many people in an area creates a collective influence. It is the root cause of great and sudden disasters which are related to all four sacred substances in the atmosphere. A widespread disaster is a common and great misfortune occurring in a large area, causing harm to a considerable number of people, to a country or mankind as a whole, and animals. The accumulation of the confusion in the state of the heart derives from cruelty, wickedness, evilness contributed by many people. This accumulated confusion is the source of disasters. These sources already exist in man's body, then influence the four sacred substances in the atmosphere, and finally give rise to disasters. Disasters are caused by four sacred substances: liquid, inundation, flood, tsunami; qi, toxic wind, violent outbursts, typhoons, storms, hurricanes; electric, earthquake, volcanic eruption, lightning, discharge of atmospheric electricity; thunderbolts, AIDS, plagues and epidemics by electric microbes, influenza, disintegrated atoms; light, man's intelligence and wisdom are disturbed, the root cause of world wars. Who can avoid the disasters of the planet Earth and can prevent the occurrence of the disasters? The ones who live with sound moral and intellectual life and spiritual life can keep away from disasters. The ones who practice virtues can avoid disasters caused by liquid and qi, because the light and the electric of the two cosmoses have been combined. However, during the disaster, if their body still animates with carnal desires and sensational desires, their heart is in confusion, they must be affected by the disaster. The sentimental, moral, and intellectual life. The heart and the mind are the fundamental elements of the activities of the sentimental, moral, and intellectual life. The body is used as a means to develop the heart and the mind. The 5 natural sense organs of the body receive external phenomena and pictures and transfer them to the heart and the mind. The activities of the moral, sentimental, and intellectual life belong to the inner side and get fueled by the inner powers, qi, electric, light. The vibration of the heart and the mind is the animation of the inner powers. In their turn, when the inner powers animate, it is the emotion of the heart. So, it suffices to say that the moral and intellectual life is the activity of the inner powers. The activities of the inner powers are so delicate and subtle that it is very hard to be identified, for they change extremely fast. But all of them are engendered from the 3 basic combinations. Qi, electric, and light produce feelings. Electric and light produce virtues or wickedness, evilness. Light, yang and yin, produces thoughts. Animating inner powers put the light into animation, thus increasing the light. When feelings or virtues animate, involuntarily they draw in the creation of thoughts. Intelligence and inner powers develop. But other feelings such as anger, worry, and fear make the heart fluctuate, thus diminishing the inner powers. The activities of the sentimental, moral, and intellectual life get fueled by inner powers, which are classified into two kinds, superpowers and mystic powers. Superpowers may increase or decrease, i.e., there may be accumulation or reduction of superpowers. Mystic power only increases without decreasing. A. Superpowers increase. This state belongs to such feeling as joyfulness, elation, which make the upper parts of the body become light, thus facilitating good circulation of qi in the body, and as a result, blood moves easily. B. Superpowers decrease. This state is influenced by such feelings as worry, anger, fear, or deep resentment. They make the three qi parts of the body become heavy and uneasy, hindering the circulation of qi and blood. Mystic powers belong completely to the inner side. They increase without decreasing. Virtues are the elements that create mystic powers, or bodily human electric. Therefore, the more virtues animate, the greater human electric in man's brain becomes, thus enlarging the brain and the head bones. The animation of virtues in moral and intellectual life also produces human electric. This way of living improves oneself and at the same time can help others. The life is thus more energetic than other methods of producing human electric through ascendant transmutation of qi, such as the method of lotus sitting to acquire the static state of the heart and the mind. Actually, this lotus sitting method is good for individual practice and exertion with the aim to develop inner superpower, while living with virtues is good for both individual practice and social life. The sentimental, moral, and intellectual life animates inside, but it is also related to the external sceneries, and they originate many branches of learning and professions, such as arts, engineering, in which feelings, virtues, and thoughts animate in latency. Other branches such as sciences, philosophy, fine arts consist of two elements, virtues and thoughts. The sentimental, moral, and intellectual life is both natural and supernatural, in which there are goodness and beauty of both feelings and virtues. They get good conditions that can avoid temptation, misleading strong desires, or corruption. And they also contain joys and gaiety in creative thoughts. Creativeness is to evolve the sentimental, moral, and intellectual life. The activities of creativeness of the mind are the functions of observation and thinking. Through frequent observation, one can know and understand the phenomena of deeds, matters, feelings, and virtues. Knowing thoroughly the phenomena is to understand the cause of the natural and supernatural small worlds. Through frequently thinking, one produces thoughts, thus making one's mind more clear-sighted and mentally alert. Bringing forth a thought, the mind is creating. When the clear-sighted mind creates in accordance with the cause, this creative deed corresponds with the divine mechanism, and it can be used to evolve others. The inner life connects to the sentimental, moral, and intellectual life, and both animate in the inside, but the former is not in a state of calmness. With the moral and intellectual life, however, the heart is peaceful when the mind is creating. A. The inner life connects with the moral, sentimental, and intellectual life and gets creativeness, but the heart cannot enjoy peace, for in it there is still the influence of the combination of feelings. The inner life includes feelings, virtues, thoughts, and the substances are qi, electric, and light correspondingly or respectively. And those are the activities by the heart and the mind. The light in this inner life is the one resulting from the combination of the heart and the mind. If the heart is put into external deeds and matters, feelings arouse in activities and turn into either dislike or preference. Feelings belong to the system and function of qi. If one likes something or finds something pleasant, qi moves easily. If one hates or dislikes something, the movement of qi is retarded or obstructed. In other words, if qi circulates easily, one always feels elated and joyful. If the movement of qi is obstructed, one feels sorrowful and angry. When qi moves easily, the body feels light and pleasant. When the movement of qi is blocked, the body lacks comfort and feels heavy. If one puts his heart into pleasure or indisposition, his heart is not calm. If the heart is put into matters and deeds, feelings arouse in activities, and at the same time, recall of such feelings is formed, related to specific dislike or preference. If the heart is brought to a specific matter or deed, one often expresses his confidences. Telling one's confidences is to return to the past, and for this reason, one's heart is not at peace. B. The pure moral and intellectual life is also the inner life, but is not related to the vulgar heart of individual. It is the conscience in association with the mind in creativeness that contains no individual feelings, but only virtues and thoughts. The creation includes virtues and thoughts, electric and light, conscience and mind. The activities of the moral and intellectual life change one's nature, disposition, and behavior towards oneself and others. The one who lives with this life is a righteous person who can see clearly and objectively the truth in his own heart. He does not accept sins in his heart, nor to forgive even himself. Having seen clearly the faults and sins in himself, he can avoid these errors easily and naturally. Therefore, his heart is calm and quiet. The heart is righteous, so the words are ethical, proper, and correct. The heart contains love, therefore the words contain warmth, consolation, and care. Getting animated by the conscience and the mind, the heart gets supernatural character. Thus, the life is easy and transcendent, and the conduct becomes mild, simple, and modest. The spiritual life. The spiritual life animates completely inside, including such organs as the conscience and the mind, the character, natural temper, and the mind, supermind, and supermind. The flesh body in the natural world is used as a means to progress the spiritual life. This life is related to two supernatural and supernatural small worlds where the soul animates to evolve. When the soul animates, the flesh body becomes genuine body in a natural state with the animations of qi and blood, but this happens involuntarily without sensations caused by the heart and the mind. In other words, the flesh body at that moment is not influenced by sensations and thoughts. The animations of light and electric inside is the vivification of Tao's characters and virtues. Therefore, The genuine body is not affected by Chi's influence. Those that belong to the spiritual life are not related to the external sceneries. Only the supernatural essence remains in the genuine heart. In physiological terms, the genuinely void heart of the spiritual life can open the mystic orifice, an opening located right on top of the head, because all cosmic energy and mystic power concentrate in the brain, and there is no more animation of electric and light in the nervous system. The animation of mystic power in the spiritual life is sacredness. When a superthought emerges, the sacredness affecting through the superthought originates a miracle, which is realized in the two substances of Qi and liquid in the natural world. There are 2 degrees in the spiritual life by which miracles flow out and get realized. 1. The conscience and the supermind, or the superheart and the supermind. Miracles happen in the 2 natural and supernatural worlds. 2. The cosmic character and the supermind. Miracles happen in the 3 natural, supernatural, and supernatural worlds. In the spiritual life, there are sacredness and miraculousness of the conscience. If one has a good wish with his conscience, directing towards another person, the latter will receive favorable condition for a certain purpose. But if one has a curse, the latter will encounter troubles. Aged people, if conducting their life with the supernatural life inside, when advising their descendants, their recommendations are not erroneous, but will become true, because these words flow out from their conscience and get the quality of prophecy, in which there are no arguments from either knowledge or experience. They originate from the supernatural truth and wisdom. The supernatural truth of the supernatural small world in man are wise words, for it is the enlightenment that gives knowledge to the heart, to both listeners and speakers. This foreknowledge is not an individual genius, but it comes from the revelation of the conscience. This invisible structure gets the capability to know beforehand future events. The capability of knowledge in the creation coming from the conscience makes the created things last longer. The activities of the spiritual life get vitalized completely by virtues of the conscience and Tao's characters of the mind, the supermind, and the supermind. Though the flesh body is alive, it seems not to exist. Therefore, those who conduct this way of living no longer pay attention to the death of the flesh body. The animations of virtues and Tao's characters produce joys and merries, which are the delights of intelligence. Coming from electric and light, this delight is lighter and transcendent, unlike the happiness that results from feelings animated by Qi. The supernatural and supernatural phenomena and images are data for the development of the supermind and the supermind. All that belong to the supernature must be transmitted by the supersense organs, while the supernatural images must be transmitted by the sacred sense organ.